guys, today we're looking at a Pentax Auto 110. This one has a 24mm f2.8 lens, which is the 35mm equivalent of a 50mm. It has a power winder and a flash. I got this on eBay for $20 plus shipping. Ended up being $35.44. The value of one of these on eBay like this is about $20 plus shipping. This one is non-functional. A functional one will probably cost you $150, $200. There are probably hundreds of them on eBay that are for sale cheap and they're broken. It's a very common failure. There are repair manuals, but it's over my head to repair them. I haven't taken a look at it. The personal significance of this camera is this is the smallest single lens reflex interchangeable lens camera, including a motor drive and a flash that I have. The lenses can be mounted on APS-C and micro four thirds cameras, which makes them kind of unusual. The camera is actually unusual in many respects. These were made from 1979 to 1982. They had the world's smallest interchangeable lens SLR at the time. Originally, these were available in kits with 3 lenses. Later, they added 3 more, so for a total of 6 lenses from Pentax. The lenses were highly, and still are highly regarded. The crop factor is 2, the same as micro four thirds. So you can get adapters for a micro four thirds camera, and for that matter, APS-C cameras, and mount these lenses on it. There are no aperture settings on the lenses themselves. All of the lenses are wide open at f2.8. The aperture is taken care of inside the camera. The lens has, the shutter has 2 blades, and it functions both as a shutter and as an aperture. It's kind of interesting, and I'll attempt to show you how that is with a diagram here in a minute. On the front of the camera, we have the lens and the lens release button. And if I push that lens release button down, we can take this lens off. Oh, sorry, push the lens release button up, I can take the lens off. And there you have this tiny 28mm, the equivalent, I'm sorry, 24mm, the equivalent of 35mm lens. And here you see the shutter mechanism, and it's locked shut. I can't open it because this camera is defective. And it has a nice little marker on it to remount it. Simple as easy peasy, snaps right in and focuses like a charm. Now let me try to demonstrate how the shutter mechanism and aperture actually work. Here's a mock-up of a shutter. Now, normally the shutter would be wide open, and behind the shutter is the mirror, not in front like on a normal camera, which would have a focal plane shutter. So behind this is a mirror which blocks the light from getting to the film plane. When you go to take a picture, first the shutter has to close, which goes like this. Then the mirror pops up out of the way. Then the shutter opens for the aperture that it's set, and it's automatic. This might be f16, this might be f8, this might be f4, and this would probably be wide open at f2.8. The interesting thing is, at f2.8, because there is no aperture in the lens, and there is no normal aperture, and this shutter, which operates as an aperture, is wide open, then your bokeh would be perfectly round because there are no shutter leaves, and the entire film plane would be exposed to the circular opening of the shutter. But if you were, say, at f4, then it would be like a 4-blade shutter with square blades, and you would get an interesting bokeh. However, on this small a lens and with this small a film, 110 film, there isn't a lot of bokeh anyhow because there's tremendous depth of field. At any rate, that's how the shutter works. Now then, it opens up, takes the picture, closes immediately, then the mirror would come back down to block the light from the film plane, and then when you cock it, it would open back up and you would be able to see through the shutter mechanism, aperture mechanism, through the mirror up into the viewfinder. Pretty unique. Now on top of the camera, this is the optional flash that was sold in many of the kits, and it just has one screw to take it off, which is kind of tight. There's a little button there that senses that the flash is attached, and there's the electrical contact there when you screw down the flash. The shutter release is standard threaded, and it's the shutter advance, which is jammed on this one and doesn't work, takes 2 strokes to advance the film. On the back of the camera is the viewfinder eyepiece, which accepts corrective lenses, I believe. It has little slots on the side of the plastic surround. There's a film rewind reminder window so you can see that film is loaded. And then the back release is over here on the left side. So you just push down a little back release and it pops open. So you would place your 110 film cartridge in there, close the back, and the camera is pretty much automatic. Now hidden inside here is the battery compartment. And this is kind of unique also. This takes S76 batteries originally, but it'll work with all the equivalents, which includes a very common LR44. So this little holder, you place the 2 batteries in, and the way it's constructed, you can't put the batteries in backwards. You can only put them in this little holder one way, and it only fits in here one way, so you can't accidentally get negative and positive mixed up. That's kind of clever. Now on the camera bottom, I have attached the optional motor drive that came with this camera. Screws off here on the side. This is the off-on switch. The biggest problem with these motor drives that most people seem to have is the battery compartment cover is a little tricky and breaks. You have to pull this thing back and it comes out this way, up. 2 batteries go in, but they're in a lot of tension with the springs, so they tend to break this plastic part. So a lot of these automatic winders are broken. Of course, the bottom of the automatic winder has a standard tripod 1/4-20 socket. And so when you take it off, the bottom of the camera has its own standard 1/4-20 socket, which is used to hold on the optional auto winder. There's the mechanical contact for advancing the film, and there's the electrical contact to know when you press the shutter button. On the right hand side, there's this handy little clip and a special little hand hold carrying strap. So that's it, guys. The smallest single lens reflex interchangeable lens camera ever made. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.